All right. So, welcome to Assets and Algorithms, the show where we explore the intersection of real estate and technology. Today, I have Gino Barbaro with me from Jake and Gino. Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thanks, Derek. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I'm excited for this conversation, and I'd love to dive right in.
Let's do it.
So I want to start with just asking you to share a bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture.
Well, the role, I would say that I have a couple of roles in life. First and foremost is being a father and a husband. I think that's the biggest role that I have to date. I've got 6 children, ages 25 to 10. So that role in and of itself is a challenging one. But what's interesting is when you become a business owner, you have a family and you have a business, and they run very similarly, believe it or not. Running a family and running a business has a lot of similarities as far as core values, mission
Right.
statements, hopefully of rhythms and cadences of accountabilities in the family as well as in the business. But as far as the real estate side, Jake and I have a property management company and we own multifamily. So we're basically running a multifamily real estate business.
Awesome. Awesome. That sounds great. And I haven't heard it posed that way before, but it does make a ton of sense. Running a family, they have their systems and running a business as well. You're managing it as the head of the household. So great analogy.
Thank you.
So I'd love to dive into the multifamily business, right, that you mentioned. We had a conversation. You told me a little bit about some of the tools and the technology that you guys are using to help you. Can you dive in a little bit into that and talk about that for me?
Or Derek, what you said right there is really important, and I hope we don't gloss over that. And for anybody that's new to real estate, what Derek said is your real estate business. Now, most people who begin investing in real estate, myself included, we're just buying a couple of houses. We're doing a little fix and flip here, maybe buying a duplex. They miss the bigger picture. Whether you're buying a duplex or you're buying a 150 unit apartment complex, you are buying a business. You're buying a future stream of revenue. Now, the problem is that when you're thinking small or you're not thinking that way, it's hard to scale the business or it's
Mm,
hard to run the business efficiently. You become what we call a mom and pop. You get
mm,
burned out. You get stressed out. You don't understand. Multifamily is a team sport. Technology is
mm,
a team sport. You can't do everything in technology by yourself. It's the same thing in multifamily. You have to be raising capital. You have to be looking at deals. You have to be asset managing. You have to be property managing. Technology is just one of those tools that allows you to help you to do that. Now, when I started out, tech wasn't as prevalent. I mean, let's talk
mm.
20 something years ago. There wasn't tech. I couldn't go on Google Maps and check out hot prop. It was a lot more low tech, but still, we still had spreadsheets. We still had certain technologies that we could utilize. What I've
Absolutely.
seen over the last 5 years, Derek, is just the explosion across the board. Now, unfortunately, in commercial real estate, it's been a lot harder to adopt. It's like the old man's club where they still don't want the disruption as much. You go online in a residential property. I want to buy a house in St. Augustine, Florida. I live in St. Augustine. You go to Zillow, boom, open source. Well, commercial real estate is sort of not like that. They're sort of, broker. It's more of a broker relationship where they're holding the deals back. And then when the deal is not good, they're going to put it online. And what I found is there's so many companies trying to disrupt real estate from itself, whether it's from a financial perspective or
Mhm.
whether it's from a deal sourcing perspective. So one of the biggest ones that I've seen come across is real estate brokers have a company called CoStar. That's where they look at all of their listings, financial data, comparables, assets that are being sold right now. You can go online to a company called Crexi, CREXI.com. Go on their website for free. They have a paid subscription, which is phenomenal. But that
Mhm.
technology allows you to go and map out certain areas, connect with all of the brokers in the market, get market data, median income, average sales price. It's incredible. It would have
Mm.
taken me hours and hours and hours back in the day to figure out all this information. Now it's at your fingertips. So go check out Crexi. It's an amazing tool. Now we have also in this marketplace right now, and especially in the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a lot of capital raising. So when I
Mhm.
started out back in 2011 with my business partner looking at deals, indications really weren't prominent. There was
Mm.
people who were in the business for years that were raising capital, but newbies really didn't do it. In 2017, with the Jobs Act, all of a sudden they lessen the restrictions on being able to raise capital, so a lot more people flooded the market.
Mm.
And at the time, a lot of people were using spreadsheets, they're using DocuSigns, they were trying to track their portfolios in all different areas. A lot of companies like Syndication Pro, we use a company called Cashflow Portal. They have this investor management platform where you go online, you put your deals as a lead sponsor, and you start tracking your deals. Now, it's great because it's also a CRM. So you start building relationships. It's a customer relationship management tool where you're able
Mhm.
to build that relationship. You're able to house all of your documents in. You're able to raise capital, do funds, have funds flow within the platform. You can send out money to investors as well. So that investor management platform is huge right
Mhm.
now. And if you don't have one as you're raising capital, you won't look as professional. Now, I've got a couple other ones. Property management software. When Jake and I started, we were using QuickBooks and
Mhm.
it was absolutely okay. Wasn't the
Mhm.
greatest, but it was okay. Back then they had Yardi, they had RealPage. They were prohibitively expensive and they weren't
Mhm.
prop tech platforms. They were built more for real estate companies. Now the difference with those old softwares, their interfaces are a lot different than these new companies like AppFolio, like
Mhm.
Buildium, like
Mhm.
Doorloop. So if you're running a property management company, if you're running a real estate business or portfolio, you need property management software. Not even a question in my mind because it offers so many other areas where you can integrate your website. You can start doing tours through it. You can start doing rent collections through it, creating notices through it. So property management software, without a doubt, is a must. I've got a couple else down here. I would also say a company called HelloData. Amazing company out there. You can go on HelloData and AI is done a phenomenal job of aggregating all of this data. So when you're looking at a market and you're saying, hey, this broker is telling me for $1,300 a month, I can rent this 2-bedroom apartment. I mean, trust, but verify. Go onto a company like HelloData. They'll pull out all of the comps. It's almost real time as well within that market, and they'll give you a radius and they'll do a rental comparison analysis and say, yes, Gino, in that market for 2-bedroom units, 1,000 square feet, average rents for $1,300. So technology is just an amazing tool, but you need to understand the business. Technology is great, but if you don't know how to use the technology, if the numbers don't make sense or you don't know how to translate those numbers into business sense, then it might be challenging for you to make money in this business.
Absolutely, man. I love that answer. You mentioned a ton of great tools that are really changing the way that people are going to be able to do business. But the bottom line, like you said, is being able to make sense of those tools and that information that those tools give you.
Mhm.
And I think that's going to be the major shift, being able to use these tools efficiently, but also being able to sift through that data. And with that in mind, I hear when having these conversations that a ton of people are using ChatGPT a lot. Let me ask, have you been using it and how have you been optimizing it across your day-to-day as a real estate business owner?
I would say about 10 years ago, my mindset would have been, I don't need it. I'm old school. What's Chat GPT going to do for me? And I know a lot of you out there that are my age may have that mindset. And if you have that mindset, you're lost. Now, is
Mm.
Chat GPT the end all be all? Absolutely not. But if you need to write a friendly, cordial email to a resident saying that you made a mistake, holy crap. I mean, it saves you hours. If you want to create content or a newsletter for your community, instead of sitting there for a day, not worrying, not understanding, hey, chat, could you please write me a newsletter in a friendly tone about the top 5 things that you can do in this market? Wow. Can you have chat create a newsletter for a tenant saying, hey, when you move out, these are the top 5 things you need to do when you move out? It's just an amazing tool, but you have to learn how to use it. And I'm in that process right now. I'm knowing how to use it. I'm what you say, a newbie, but I'm just blown away by the ability for you to be able to ask it questions and then you're able to prompt it and give it the exact. It's all about those prompts. It's all about the questions and the
Right.
clarity it gives you. And I think for financial data, you can get a T12 from a property, put it into chat, have it analyze the income and expenses and see where there's the opportunities. Now, is chat going to always be 100% accurate? Depends. You have to really look at that. Am I going to make a $17 million decision based on Chat GPT alone? No, but I'm going to allow Chat GPT to look at the numbers, to parse the numbers, and to actually make an informed decision based on those numbers, along with the data that I've been able to assess. And it's just an incredible tool. Writing emails, email copy, aggregating data, coming up with content ideas for your business. And to think that you can actually have chat interview you and ask you
Mm,
questions about your business. So strategic decision making, creating interview questions for. I was just fooling around with this. I was actually asking Chat, can you create a jobs description for an employee based upon our two core values of people first and make it happen in a friendly tone? And I have to be honest with you, it would have taken me 3 hours to write that email and that description and that job description. Chat spit it out in 30 seconds, even less. I was able to go in and change a couple of words and say, wow, that tool has made me more efficient. I think it's going to remove a lot of jobs in the economy, but it's also going to create a ton more jobs. And it's also going to have my accountant, instead of sitting there and coding bills and doing superfluous, painful work, take that off the table and have her really dive into other more meaningful projects. That's what technology should allow you to do. It shouldn't only replace people. It should amplify your ability to do tasks that drive revenue. That's what it's all about. Technology should help you drive revenue, should help you focus on more revenue generating tasks. That's what I think gets lost in it. Everyone gets afraid of being replaced. No, just learn how to create more value and focus
mm.
more on creating the revenue.
Absolutely. I love that. I think right now we're still in the beginning of what chat is able to do, but it is still able to do so much in helping people become more productive. You touched on a lot of great points and ways that you can use it, and you are using it in your business. So I love that. And it sounds like you also see a future where it continues to amplify people as adoption becomes greater. So I want to ask you a little bit about the future, right? Let's talk about how, we talked a little bit about how those tools are changing, and you talked about how, in the beginning it was only so much that people were using. Let's talk about the future of where technology can take this industry.
It's interesting. I'm stuck in the generation where I didn't really adopt technology. I grew up with more of a skill set of emotional intelligence, being able to network with people, being able to really connect with people. I think if you're growing up right now, there may be a challenge for you because you may kick my ass in tech and you may be amazing, but I will kick your ass when it comes to networking and connecting with others. I think you need to
Hmm.
have a blend of both. I think you really need to adopt and have an open and growth mindset with tech, but at the same time, there's nothing better than jumping on a plane, going to a conference, and actually meeting people, especially if you're in the real estate space. People don't invest in deals. People invest in
Absolutely.
people and ideas. So get
Absolutely.
in front of people, learn how to speak to people, whether it's through a neuro-linguistic programming, through NLP, whether it's becoming a coach, learning those emotional, those soft skills. And that's what I've dedicated the last 20 plus years of my life with my children. We homeschool our kids. I've got 6 kids. My
Mm,
kids, whether they're 10 years old or they're 22 years old, can actually speak to an adult. They can look at an
mm,
adult in their eyes, shake their hands, and have a conversation. Those skills are needed. They'll always be needed. And that's how you can separate yourself. The technology is there to remove those tasks that are difficult for you. And I think what's great about technology going forward, for me in the real estate space, I can underwrite a deal in 2 or 3 minutes with chat once I get really good at using chat. Whereas it would take me 2 hours to underwrite a deal, a year or two ago. Let's say if I'm really underwriting a deal, doing a deep dive. Well, if I need to underwrite 60 or 70 deals to get one deal, and I can underwrite 20 deals a week using chat, and I can only do 5 or 6 not using chat, the race to 60 becomes so much greater. And I think the ability to really focus on KPIs in the business, which are key performance indicators. If you can have
right.
technology, ask ChatGPT, what are the top 3 or 4 or 5 key performance indicators that I need in my industry? Chat will spit them out to you. For us, we like to look at profit per unit. That's the profitability of every unit that we own after all the bills are paid, right? So focusing on that and then having tech pull that out and then having chat help you build a budget based on what your pro forma is right now and maybe extrapolate it out 3 years. That'll save you a ton of time, especially if you got 20 or 30 properties. If chat is helping you do that and you give it the assumptions, rent growth, expenses, if chat can be that tool to help you do that, you're going to save a lot of time and then you're also going to save a lot of your employees' times. And if you have to create a presentation based on that data, well, chat, can you create a 5 point PowerPoint slide prezo based on that. And oh, by the way, create these pretty graphs for me. Holy crap. It would take me, I'm an idiot when it comes to PowerPoint. It would take me 6 hours to do a PowerPoint, or better yet, I'd have to get a VA to do that. Now, chat can do that for you. So my recommendation, go on Udemy, go on one of these platforms that has these inexpensive chat programs, spend $20. It'll be worth 100x what you paid. It's incredible what these programs are teaching me, because like I said, I'm a neophyte. I'm just scratching the surface here. But if I'm able to learn this and then bring it to my early adopters into my company and show them the value, because remember, Derek, hardest thing in business to do is to have an idea and to know that your idea is revolutionary. But then how do you have your employees or the people around you adopt that idea? It's always what's in it for them. If I can show them that they're saving a ton of time, they're going to become more efficient and their job is going to get a lot easier using this technology, then they'll adopt it. If I can't, then they won't. And chat is so simple. Sitting there and showing them a couple of commands, I think it's a no-brainer. So for me, technology going forward is going to be a disruptor. I think hopefully all this data becomes open source. I hope the financing with banks becomes open source. I hope deals hit the market and everyone has an opportunity to see these deals and we are able to bid there. And all of a sudden, what that happens is we all become more efficient. And when things become more efficient and there's less friction, prices drop. It becomes more competitive, but it also becomes easier to get into the industry and it becomes open source. Tech did that for single family homes. And hopefully tech was going to start doing that for the commercial market as well. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. I 100% agree, right? I think it's starting to disrupt, but like you said, some of the larger multifamily properties in the commercial real estate space, those owners and those constituents are a little hesitant to adapt it, but I think it'll be a huge disruptor, in the future.
I'm going to get political for a second here. Okay. I'm not going to pick a side. I'm just going to lay out what tech has been able to do. When they announced Doge was happening, I don't think they understood the power of tech. I think they were all caught off guard. Now, who in their right mind, rational, logical person would be against Doge? Who does not want to save $1 trillion and does not want to save this country and does not want to use the money that we're allocating from our taxes to be used efficiently, at least as open source? Well, people who are getting paid off. People want the status quo. And it's the same thing in the commercial space, the multifamily market space, the people who have gotten comfortable, the people who own or control the market, they don't want that open source. So it's very hard to make those changes. And I think you need someone like an Elon Musk in the commercial space to come in and say, this is how we used to do it. This is what we're going to do. It's going to happen within the next 5 years. I'm so amazed at what chat can do as far as them deleting data and him being able to pull it back up and him being able to find trails of money and see where it goes. It's just an incredible aggregator of data. And if you don't know how to understand or read the data, that's the issue. But once you're able to do that, it's incredible. So I think once that goes by the wayside, there's enough people hammering away and saying, why are we paying so much to a mortgage broker for a loan? It's really not that complicated. It's a system. It's a process. Every deal you do has certain checkpoints, has certain frameworks. Why hasn't tech been involved to walk us through that entire process from A to Z? Why are we still doing the same things we've been doing for the last 30 years? Why do we need all of this paper? Why are we killing trees? Like, I don't understand. And when you get that visionary or that person to say, this is dumb, the cost is $100,000. It should literally come down to $10,000. Then all of a sudden, more transactions happen and there's other jobs that are created to support that tech as well.
Absolutely. Listen, I 100% agree again, man. You're hitting all of the points really directly on the head. It's going to be interesting to see how that adoption comes about because I think it is inevitable that it does come about. You've spoken about all of the great things that it's able to do. I know that it can do so much more where, like you said, we're only scratching the surface as, the world in general. I mean, it's only 3 years old, this technology. But I want to pivot a little bit to some of the challenges that we may have and currently, or some of the things that have been frustrating when it comes to how the technology is changing the industry or your business.
Well, it's interesting. There comes a cost with technology. I hate the monthly recurring revenue model. I despise it. I grew up when, you buy a book, $10, book is paid. Now everything comes with a cost. In AppFolio, they charge you per unit. With the CRM, they charge you per user. So as you scale, things do get more expensive. And you have so many different subscriptions and so many different costs for technology, whether it's HelloData, whether it's AppFolio, whether it's Adobe, whether it's Ring, whether it's Owner Central, Ownwell.com, whatever platform and technology it is, it can come. It can be an expensive endeavor. Some other things is we start to lean on it too heavily and we
Mm.
stop doing the work on the back end. It's great that chat just pulled out and told me that this property is going to give me a 17% IRR over the next 5 years. Did I really do my due diligence? Did I really walk that property and really get the feel of the property? Did I see how old the building is? Did I really do a deep dive into the due diligence? Is there cast iron plumbing? Are the roofs old? Is the HVAC going to be replaced in the next 2 years? Chat and technology may not be able to diagnose that kind of issue. And as far as market cycles and sentiments, chat can't predict the future. So if I'm looking at a deal today and I'm trying to go in the next 5 years, chat or Gino or Derek doesn't know where interest rates are going to go. So if you're leaning on it too much and it's a crutch and every decision is based on chat, and that's the problem. I think we need a little bit of critical thinking. It can help us and aid us, but if it is the end all be all and you make all your decisions based on that technology, that's where I think you lose the human element. And I think ultimately you're trying to have your team members and your company adopt the technology. And that may be a challenge. When we had 500 units, Jake and I were using a company called RentPost to do property management software. It was horrible. I mean, every time we needed to do a refinance or create a report, it was just cumbersome. It was terrible. It took us a good 3 months to get the team on board to be able to transition over to AppFolio. Now, once you got onto AppFolio, it was like the holy grail. It was amazing. But that transition was very difficult. And I think that's what's going to happen to tech. Every time you onboard a new technology, and what I would say is if you have a company or even do it within the home, pick one tech or one problem at a time, focus on that, get yourself to get really good at it, adopt it, and then move on to another one. Maybe you do one tech per quarter. If you have 4 quarters in a year, one of your quarterly priorities is to adopt one software. And the great question, someone asked me a great question the other day and they said to me, how do you know ChatGPT can help you? They said, ask yourself, what's the one thing you do every day that you despise doing or you hate doing? And I was like, that's a pretty good question. So ask yourself the same thing. What's one thing I do in my business every day that I think ChatGPT can replace or at least help me with? So if you do that, you may get 5 or 6 ideas. Pull out the one that is the most painful to you. And then from there, work on that. Once you've got that adopted, move on to the next one.
Absolutely. That's actually a perfect answer. That you know, goes perfectly with the question I usually like to ask to end these conversations. And, if you had one major challenge today that you could solve, what would you say that is? And how do you think that would come about?
It's interesting because my major challenge right now is I'm transitioning from the education space because I sold Jake and Gino. I'm still on board. I'm still doing a lot of the content. I'm still participating and finding a new venture for myself. That's why I wrote the book, Happy Money, Happy Family, Happy Legacy. And I've been having conversations with God over the last couple of years and saying, what's my ultimate purpose? Because making money is great. Love talking about money. Love building businesses. That's where I've gotten my joy and my passion. But right now, I'm saying to myself, what's the next iteration? What's the next growth prospect for me? And I've been looking around and I've been seeing on Instagram and on Facebook all these conversations with these disaffected young people. And one common theme that I see is a lot of them come from broken families and from not good situations.
Mm.
And I've seen the dissolution of the family in the African American community. The 1960s, 75% uh, you know, husband, wife, two couple. Now it's the other way around. And when I see that, and this is not a black, white, whatever nationality, it comes back to not having a strong family. When my parents came here from Italy, they were both poor, but they both had a strong family. And when tough things got tough, they were able to go to their family for help. I think that's what's lacking today. So for me, the mission for me is with this new company we formed with my family, Barbaro 360. We want to change the world one family at a time. We want to focus on family, faith, finances, and wellness and nutrition. That's what our focus is on. And if you can focus on building the family unit out, all of a sudden you have healthy kids. You have kids that can't be co-opted by corporate media. You have kids that are critical thinkers that can opt out of the system if they decide to. right? And be part of the system and implement change. But that can only start if you have a strong foundation. And the strong foundation comes from having a healthy relationship with husband, with wife, having those kids and bringing them up based upon what their core values are. And I love to share, with what my situation is with our 6 kids, how our family is helping to empower other families to be changed, to be the change in this world.
Absolutely. I love that. It comes to a point where you solve one challenge at a time versus you, your family,
Mm-hmm.
your community, and then you just start thinking much broader. And it sounds like that's where you're at. I love that initiative. I think it sounds holistic, and I'd be excited to see where you're able to take it, Gino. I appreciate you having this conversation with me. You added a ton of insights. You touched on a ton of things. I think, people will definitely be able to get a ton of value from even the solutions that you talked about and the tools. So I'd like to take this time to let you express any last words that you have and any contact information if someone wants to reach out to you.
It's interesting. I would just tell everybody from today on out, focus on what your values are. Understand what your values are. Most of us really don't have them fleshed out, but we're making decisions subconsciously based on those values. So I call it values based decision making. That's what my mentor taught me. And every decision should be based upon Derek's values. Every decision should be based upon Gino's values. Why am I willing to suffer the indignities and the hit to my self-esteem to learn ChatGPT? Because one of my values is responsibility and the other one is growth mindset. So for me to do that, I've elected to go through the pain of learning it and trying to get better. So if you're out there, you're trying to focus on whether you're growing a family, investing in real estate, what are the values? What are your values telling you? Make those decisions based upon those values. And if you want to learn more about working with the family, go to barbaro360.com and you can download our book for free. You can check out the podcast. I've got a Happy Money podcast with my son, who's 23 years old. I've got a podcast with my wife on faith and family, the Julie and Gino show. Go check out those resources.
Sounds great. Gino, thank you again for joining the show. And this has been an episode of Assets and Algorithms.
Thanks, brother.